Well, hello. I'm with my friend, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, and I've asked her if she would be willing to share her personal story about her health journey. I think it's such an empowering story, and you've heard me say before that my favorite patients are those that come in and say, I've been to Mayo Clinic and they don't know what's wrong. And I say, that's great, way to go. And they always think, what? What? I said, that means you don't have a disease, because if you have a disease, Mayo Clinic would find it. You have dysfunction. Let's see what's not functioning right for you. And this is a really good example of that because you are an extremely well-known physician, an expert in your field, and we did a walk,
Yeah,
a walk on the beach.
we
And
did.
can you share what happened there?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, like we spoke about before, I never like to think of myself as a victim.
Right.
And as physicians, we're usually the last to admit that we're not feeling well. And we went for a walk on the beach, and I said, Tom, I mean, you've been in this space for so long. I'm just not feeling well. I'm having these joint pains. I'm exhausted. I'm gluten, dairy free. I train hard. I sleep well. And my thyroid is off. My hormones are off.
And wasn't it like 3 to 5 cups of coffee?
Oh, so to start, it ended up being more than that, and anything to stay awake,
To stay awake,
to
to
stay
do your
alert,
work.
to be able to function.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make any sense. So yes, my markers were off, but why was my thyroid function off? Why was I having digestive issues? And there was no disease found.
Right. That's great. There's no disease. That's great.
Right, and right, that part was great, but it continued to progress, and I was living in New York City. So I just finished my fellowship from Washington University, and when I went back to New York, I was thinking, well, I must just be fatigued, and it's all that training that I had done, both physically and academic, but I never recovered, and I kept getting sicker. So we were up to 3 to 5 cups to start. It was up to definitely more than that to stay awake, and to train was to just function was really, really challenging. And
When you say train, you mean exercise,
yeah,
because
yeah,
you're a
that's
CrossFit
that.
gal. And actually,
Yeah,
excuse me, but you're a CrossFit babe. You're like you imagine these beautiful women who are doing this gorgeous activity, and that's you.
was.
Was you?
I avulsed my hamstring, so I tore my right hamstring 80%. I had labral tears, piriformis tears, all kinds of tissue
Injuries occur.
injuries that were happening, and I had done an IGeneX test of Lyme that was negative. So I had done all these and my heavy metals was normal. All of these things had been normal, and I was speaking to an environmental physician, and she said, you really should test for mold. And I'm thinking, come on, I'm fine. It's not mold. It's probably just my adrenals. I'm not sure why it's not helping.
What happened on the beach? What did we do on the beach before that? It was before
Yes.
that.
So on the beach, we just kind of talked about really just following the path and continuing to work on my health and be healthy. And at that time, we hadn't really spoken about the environmental stuff, but it was really focused on the functional medicine piece, because how could it not be that,
Right.
right? How could it not be
Right.
those things?
Right. That it's inconsistent
Right.
for someone
Right.
that takes care of themselves as well as you do.
Yeah.
Gluten-free, dairy-free,
Yeah.
sugar-free, exercises regularly. Inconsistent
Yeah.
that you would be feeling this way. We were missing something.
Totally. And we were. So as it progressed, I got worse, and I spoke to an environmental physician. She's very well known in New York and actually all over the country. She said, you really should test for mold. And I'm thinking, that's ridiculous. There's no mold in my apartment. There's no mold in my
Right.
office.
Clean office.
Yeah. It's on Fifth Avenue.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And when she got the results back, my mold levels, my glial toxin was 25 times higher than she'd ever seen. She's been in practice 30 years.
An environmental medicine doctor, a specialist of your
Yeah.
environment causing problems.
Yeah.
Largest
Yeah.
test results out of balance of
Yes.
anyone she'd ever seen.
I have incredible high levels of dioxin, phenols. I have Agent Orange, all kinds of things. She said if it was anybody else, they would be under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
She just said that these labs are outrageous.
Mm-hmm. So it had been all of your exercising, your training, your strength over the years that had kept you going.
I would say so.
And then you were using the stimulant of coffee just to keep going while you're trying to figure out all this stuff.
Yeah. To say the least, yes. And what was also really interesting is my sweat started to smell when I moved back to New York. And I'm not talking about, okay, you know, your sweat smells, but I mean, it straight up smelled like chemicals. And I just wasn't detoxifying. And we had the office and home evaluated. It was completely colonized with mold, irreparable, through the roof. Incredible. And it's been really making me sick. And now, like you say, it's so great to find something because then you can fix it.
Right.
You know, because everyone was saying, well, you know, your labs, your thyroid, your hormones aren't that bad for you to be feeling this way. Your Lyme is negative. You don't have celiacs. You don't have all these things. But I wasn't able to function. And it had lowered my immunity that I ended up getting Entamoeba histolytica and Klebsiella.
Those are bugs. Those are bacterial bugs that we all get exposed to. But if your immune system can't keep it in check, it can rear its ugly head, and you get high colonies and concentrations and get sick from it.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. So now I'm on the trajectory of healing. Thank God we found it. But, I mean, it's... For her to say I've got the highest levels of organic solvents and mold that she's seen in 30 years of someone who is... This is what she does. It's scary.
Yeah, very scary. Very scary. Someone else would be not only under the carpet, under the ground. With this. So your previous lifestyle has allowed you to survive in the midst of this, and now you. And what was my response when you told me?
Fantastic.
Way to go!
You were like, this. You know, I called you. I was pretty upset.
Yes.
I was very upset, and I tend to call you when I'm very upset, and. When I called you, I told you this story, and you said, that is the best news. That is such great news.
It really is, because you can get rid of all that stuff.
Thinking, oh my God.
You can get fixed, you know. It's a pain in the butt to do it. Clean up your house, clean up the office. It's not easy, but there's a path to follow.
And we know why these things are happening.
Yes.
And it's really silent. I mean, in functional medicine, we're just starting to scratch the surface. Even with my own patients, when I look at them, I think gut, hormones, thyroid, but I don't necessarily think chemical toxicity, mold toxicity.
Right.
I mean, that's totally not really within the scope of kind of mainstream as of now.
That's exactly right. Mainstream functional medicine does not emphasize this, but we're going to.
Fantastic.
Thanks to you and I, you know, and we'll carry the message out, and others will carry this message out. That is a critical component that we all need to be aware of. Stop using the plastic lids on the coffee cups. Get the stainless steel ones, and you go in and say, fill it up, please. You know, all the little things that we have to do. Leave your shoes at the door when you come in the house. All the tiny little things. Stop buying toothpaste with fluoride. You know, just the little steps that we can take.
And one of the things I learned from you is if it doesn't make sense, we're missing something.
Right.
So if you are, you know, it's not just food sensitivities, it's not just those things. All those things need to be in line.
Right.
But if you were someone who was, you know, living like I am, where you're doing all the right things, you're low carb, you're, you know, what I like to think of as high protein and all of those things, I'm missing something.
Right.
And truly, and it's interesting, so in our clinic we run an LRA, we run a lymphocyte reactivity assay. And I didn't react to a ton of foods, but retrospectively I reacted to a ton of chemicals.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Oh.
But it's not diagnostic for that, it just shows that your immune system is reacting to those.
Right.
And thinking about it now, I realized that was key for me to pay attention to that.
That was a whoopsie.
Yeah.
That was a whoopsie. You know, we all make whoopsies, right? And hopefully, you know, we learn from them, right?
I was thinking, fine, I can avoid cashews, no problem. Cashews, tomatoes, you know, boysenberry. But when I started to see, you know, and I got a filter for my home in terms of showers and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, and I was swimming. I was also swimming in a pool.
Yeah.
Whether it's salt water or chlorine, I think that it's still, these things are a major issue.
So Dr. Lyon has agreed to come back and just share your journey as you're going forward.
Yes.
And thank you so much for being willing to be open and talk about your own personal health. And for any of you in the New York area or in the world that's looking for a doctor, a functional medicine doctor, Dr. Lyon is on the list. She's one of the referrals that you're in good hands with. So thank you once again.
Thank you so much.